You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report's College Football Report Weekend Reaction with Michelle Garmon. Welcome, college football fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report reaction to the college football weekend with my sidekick on the podcast, Michelle Garmon. She, like most sports fans across the country, spent the day watching college football, and I wanted to get her reaction from what happened. And Michelle, what happened was 4 of the top 10 teams in the country lost. Of those teams, Texas, Notre Dame, Clemson, and Alabama. Which team do you have most faith will rebound and be in the playoffs? Which team do you think this is just a sign of things to come?
Well, I'm going to go with the second one first. I think Alabama, this is just a sign of things to come. I think that's a program that has really fallen off in a lot of ways. I'm not so sure that a little bit of the writing wasn't on the wall that it would fall off a little bit, with especially concern, because with Saban, we don't know what Nick Saban felt. I mean, he says it was the changing landscape, and I believe him because with NIL, other teams, other conferences were going to get better. And it wasn't going to be as easy for an Alabama to be, have 4 and 5 stars at one position depth-wise. And that's just the reality of it. I would be very shocked if they make their way into the playoff race. For Texas, it's going to be kind of hard just because they have one loss, but it's not a conference loss. If they go and only lose once in the SEC and win the SEC, they could easily be back in the playoff. I think they have a really good defense. They probably need to run the football more. I know Arch Manning's stats weren't what people had hyped him up to be, but I don't know if he was as good. I don't know if he's as good as he was ever hyped to be, or how much of his hype has to do with his last name.
How about we don't judge it against the best defensive backfield?
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say.
This year and maybe in a long time.
It's hard then to judge it against Ohio State, especially on the road. It would have been a more interesting game down in Austin than at the Shoe, because the Shoe is a very tough road environment. It's one of the toughest places to go play, kind of like Death Valley. It's a big advantage for Ohio State to play at home. And by the same token, I know that's a big win for Ohio State. I'm kind of anxious to see how they are going forward. The defense was very good. I know they have a lot of people, and with Matt Patricia coming in there. But the thing is this, too, you don't have a lot of...
The offense was not very good.
No, and that's just it. I mean, and you don't have a lot of film either. Teams are going to get more film a little bit on Ohio State. It was a good win for them. To be honest, I was wrong. I picked Texas. I thought Texas would win. I thought their offense might be a little farther ahead than Texas's. I'm fine with Ohio State winning. I love watching the Big Ten beat the SEC, and I love watching the SEC proving to be, it's all hype, because a lot of these media people just think because the SEC was such a huge dominant conference for years that it stays that way, and nothing stays the same forever. I thought Ohio State was impressive. I'm still not sure on Clemson. I know LSU is pretty good. It'll still be interesting to see.
They'll be huge favorites in the ACC. But there are some other good teams in the ACC. SMU's pretty good. Louisville's pretty good. There are some other good teams in the ACC. So
can't forget, we'll find out the Belichick effect tonight when they host TCU. He's going to bring a different kind of element to the ACC.
You can make an argument he's the greatest coach in the history of football, and that comes with some weight. So I'm guessing that it won't have any effect on the ACC race, Bill Belichick, at least this year, but we'll see.
Because you don't know, because you're dealing with different types of athletes, at different levels. So it'll be interesting. I love that college football is back.
And of course, Notre Dame lost a tough one on the road in Miami. A comeback fell short, and they have another tough one coming up this week. Can the Irish rebound and get to the playoffs?
I had at one point said that I could see them losing 3 games, and it would be a disappointing year. But I didn't think they would go undefeated. I think they'll come back. My takeaway, what I want to say about that first, about the Miami Notre Dame game was, I think that C.J. Daniels catch may be the best catch of the year, being the best catch of the year. That touchdown catch
Amazing.
it was great.
And if he doesn't get his hands on that ball, it's an interception going the other way. There's no one in front of him.
No,
It's crazy how big of a catch that was.
yeah, oh, I know. It was just fantastic. I enjoyed watching it every time they replayed it. I can appreciate great plays, and that was a great play. I tell you what, the Carr kid impressed me. He impressed me. He also went on the road, and I thought he showed a lot of poise. Broke up that busted wide receiver screen play. That's one that he'll watch film, and that's something that if that happens again, I think he sails it out of bounds, realizing that there's not, even if the guy catches it, it's going to be like a loss. You might as well sail that sucker out of bounds. But hey, he's a freshman. I thought he played well. He made some good. He drove them when they needed to make big drives. A lot of people were, and I was a little disappointed that Love didn't touch the ball quite as much. But I'm also sitting there thinking, watching every time he runs, he wants to go hurdle over tacklers. That is not conducive to staying healthy all season long. And I can see why Notre Dame may limit some of his carries early on in the season just for that. So I do think they could have maybe tried to run just a little bit more overall. Price had that big run. Their offensive line is supposed to be really, really good. I didn't think they always pass protected well. And so that's going to be something Notre Dame is going to need to clean up. But I think they will. Is it A&M they have next week?
Yes, at home.
And that's at Notre Dame. So I think they'll bounce back and win that game. For Notre Dame, the key for them is like a week 3. Is there a trap game in there after back-to-back big-time games? That's where Notre Dame's kind of stumbled in the past, was losing a game they shouldn't, what you call one of those trap games. I'll tell you what, Miami, they did. Tony, and they've got a great wide receiving core. And it's funny because you lose Cam Ward, and everybody thinks, oh, you lose the number 1 pick in the draft. But when you have Carson Beck,
the big difference with Miami, I thought, was their defense was a lot better. They were just not good on defense last year. They gave up 24 points last night, but that defense played very well.
Their defense did play well. Their special teams also played pretty well. They didn't really let Notre Dame rip off a big return or anything. So Miami's going to be one of those teams in the ACC that's going to be right there to challenge.
Don't count out Jeff Brum. Let's move to the Hoosiers. Grant Schaus, Mike Hutzel, and I reacted after the game, and Grant was a little pessimistic. Here's what I saw, Michelle. IU was the better team on 85% of the plays, and the score looked a lot closer than the game actually went.
I agree. They lined up in IU outside of those 2 touchdown plays, which was just blown missed assignments on defense. They lined up in IU territory one time, and a penalty moved them back into their territory, and they never were in Indiana territory the rest of the game. Cooper doesn't drop that. I mean, that he's wide open. That's he drops a touchdown pass. He catches that. He's in the end zone. I was not concerned because here's my thing, and I love it because there are people that don't like Sig. I like him just because he's not afraid to say and he shoots it straight, and he's not afraid to be critical of his own team. He said he wasn't pleased with what he saw, and they have to get better, and that's what I like. And that they didn't score as much as they should have down in the red zone. I also saw something from somebody that was watching. They thought IU stayed pretty vanilla in like their offense. They said they didn't know if that was by design or what. And I think they're going to have to clean up that red zone. But you have to be pleased with the offensive line for how many yards rushing they got. They didn't get him in the end zone a couple times, but I was really impressed with the ground game and that line.
Yeah,
and it's going to get better. And Mendoza is going to be better. He's going to get better on his reads. I thought he played nervous a little bit, but that's to be expected. Week 1 in a brand new system. We forget that colleges aren't like high schools and even like NFLs. They don't have preseasons. They don't get to go scrimmage against anybody else until week 1.
I question playing another major power conference in week 1. I think we should save all that for week 2 and 3. Let these teams get a quote-unquote preseason game under their belt.
Starting
with Miami is tough, man.
Yeah, go back to IU and ODU for just a minute. Old Dominion is not. I know they were like 5-7 last year, but they only lost to South Carolina by 4 points in their opener. There were like three games they played. A couple others, I think they played in like a P4 or whatever, or whoever they played, and they were more competitive. I think their problem was they didn't play well necessarily in their own league. It seemed like they played out against better competition outside their league better than they did against weaker competition in their league. But this is what I like about IU. People have to understand they've never been here before. They were unknown. Last year, every game they went out, they were surprising. No one targeted IU until they went into Ohio State. You know what I mean? Into Ohio State at 10-0. That's when they got targeted. Their wins over Washington and Michigan kind of catapulted them to where people really took them serious. This year, they're going in, and by being ranked, they're targeted. Sometimes it's harder to learn maintaining once you're successful, but I think they will. Those kids are going to know this week when they go back to work, go back to practice at IU, that they did not play well 100% for the whole game, and they're going to look to improve. So that's a good thing.
Michelle, I said before the season Purdue was going to win at least 4 games this year. Everybody laughed at me. They've won 1. They play Southern Illinois at home this week. That'll be 2. Northwestern looks like the worst team in the country. Can this team win 4 or 5 games?
I don't really know because, no offense, I think Ball State is going to get better.
Yeah.
They have a new coach, the guy, that coached Butler last year, but he's stepping up to a bigger area, and they lost a lot of players in the transfer. They lost a lot of players in the transfer portal too. And I know Purdue did too, but here's the difference: Purdue's players were, for the most part, overall, would be a little bit better quality than what I went to.
Right.
So I think Ball State, week 1, I think they'll be better at the end, but I think right now they're going to be one of the weaker teams in the MAC. It was a good win for Purdue. It's going to be interesting when they have to. When they go play Notre Dame, that could be an interesting game for them, because if they get there, if they get blown out, how does that affect whatever going on?
Of course they're going to get blown out. We're living in reality still here, Michelle.
I think
we're still living in reality.
I think you're right. I think they can win 4 games. If they win 5 games, if Purdue wins 5 games, they should consider it a somewhat successful season.
I think 4 is a successful season, 5 is a really successful season, 6, and now we're talking about lifetime contracts. With Barry Odom, that UNLV team was pretty darn good last year, and Purdue has half that team. I think asking any more than 3, 4 or 5 wins is probably too much. Michelle, thanks so much. It's been a lot of fun. Let's do it every weekend after the college football games.
All righty.
The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.